I like it.
It's working.
Yeah. So StreamYard updated. I'm like, yay! Like I'm lazy, so is Skip, and the ability to have things automatically happen, you know, plays to my laziness. And when StreamYard says, "Oh, we'll automatically do your intro and outro, you don't have to push play and flip things around anymore," I was like, "Yay!" And Skip makes fun of me because I do the outro, then I forget to hit end stream.
Well, that's so much better than me. A couple of weeks ago, I couldn't figure out how to do either one, and then of course I was too lazy to edit the final feed. So yeah, if you're just really bored, you can go check me out stumbling around live, going, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So what we have here is one of Skip's favorite topics: is stakeholder interviews.
Oh yeah.
We talk about these in January pretty in depth, and then we revisit them a little bit, I think, in April. And then finally here in October is when we really kind of hammer down on like, look, you need to be doing these things. And if you've been doing it all year long, you're set up for success.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just starting now, you're still going to have success, but not as much as if you had been building these relationships for the last year.
Right.
So what we want to talk about here is like what a stakeholder is. So when you go to a client and you see the head honcho or honchess there, and you want to talk to them about how the business is doing, and you want to get a seat at their table, being an advisor to their team, but they don't know who you are. You don't understand their business, and you're not going to get a seat at the table. That's not how this works.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some kind of stake in the game. And to have a stake in the game, that's your stakeholders.
Yep.
At every organization, including your MSP, there is someone who is like a linchpin, who is like, I know everything that's going on around here. And they may not be the person running the company, but they're kind of running the company. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In the corporate world, especially the mid-sized corporate world, these people are gold.
Yes.
Like they're like employee number 3. And now they're at like, 100 employees or 50 employees or whatever it is. And this person, the business would just fall apart without them.
Right.
And go ahead.
Yeah. Well, one of the key things to remember is that, their title may be very misleading.
Yes.
And in one of the really core aspects that in value that they could be bringing to the organization is in terms of some sort of operational expertise, or just something very applicable to the very, pointy end or very end of their business line. But it doesn't put them in a position, whether for a variety of reasons, sometimes it's their capabilities and their mindset. They might not be managers, right? So these are people that might have 0 employees, other employees reporting to them. But as Adam was saying, they're a linchpin in the company. And if you're able to help them do their job, then you essentially help the company do what it's supposed to do. There are huge payoffs in addressing the concerns and comments that a key stakeholder makes. So it is important that you identify them, but don't look by the business title. That can be very, very misleading.
Yeah. And like a lot of times it's an admin assistant, right?
Yes.
They have been running this company or building this company forever. So if you work with schools, what I want people to see is at schools, your stakeholders are obvious. They're your teachers. The 5th grade teacher is the person who represents the 5th grade classroom and style, curriculum, and that part of the of the school.
Mm-hmm.
The kindergartners do the same. They're the preschool director usually. Then you have your head honchos, and those are your principals and superintendents. Now, they are just leaning on the teachers to help make better decisions. But if you can help them understand how the teachers are using technology, how the daycare is using technology, and use that as a way to say, hey, I see what they're doing and I see how they're struggling. I think that if we implemented this, it would help them do their jobs a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a school, right? So in a corporate world, you might find Karen, the CEO, has a has an assistant, Bob, who has been kind of like her right-hand man for the past, 10 years. Bob is the one who's cleaning up the messes. Like Karen is the visionary. She's driving the company forward, saying this is what we need to be doing. And Bob's the one making it kind of happen. And you talk to Bob and like, well, what's going on here? Like, well, we're really struggling to, track payroll. We're really struggling to get documents or getting contracts out to clients. And then you could be taking notes there on your little number two pencil that we always talk about.
Yeah.
And you can come back and like, there's some technology that will definitely make this easier. And Bob goes, oh my gosh, that'd be great. Now we just got to sell it to Karen. And they invite you to the next meeting and you're in. And the more stakeholders, the key stakeholders that you identify and do like little quick 15-minute interviews with, the better relationship you have with this company. If you're just targeting the CEO all the time, you're just white noise. Unless you have a prior existing relationship there, you're just white noise. You're like every other vendor trying to get their attention. You're jumping up and down, you're screaming, saying, I'm important, talk to me. But you need to drive these conversations with the client key stakeholders. Do you know who they are? If you don't know who they are, your company is at risk, or your client is at risk of moving on to another MSP.
Very much so. And I've personally experienced this. I've got a story I tell every once in a while, but the Cliff Notes is we lost a customer because our team was all talking to the same person, and they weren't an executive decision maker in the organization. They were important. They were fulfilling their job, but they were talking to just one person in there. And when a competitor came in, they went above in the executive scale, and they stole us by going higher up the food chain, so to speak. But you can counteract those activities by having more people that you have relationships with in the organization. Because if a mandate comes down and goes, oh, hey, I think we're going to switch IT service providers, and you have a whole chorus of key stakeholders going, wait, hold on, that's not really a good idea. Bob's really been helping us out for a long time. I was just talking to him last week, and I think he's got a fix for this. Then that team is going to be your support, and you don't have to, go into defensive mode and try to recover this when these things happen and come down on you. So it's a great way to maintain stickiness with your clients.
Yeah. And I think you have a specific form you use to talk about, like, what does a stakeholder interview look like?
I do. Yep.
You want to walk us through a little bit of that? I'm kind of rusty on this. I just do it off the whim, off the cuff. I pull up our report in our tool and I say, oh, here's my questions.
Yep. And I put that little template together because I got that feedback from a lot of people. They're like, okay, I'll give it a try, but what do I say? And I guess sometimes I just butter it up too much, but it is really simple. So this type of engagement is very, very different than just about every other engagement you're going to do with your client. Yeah. Meaning there's zero prep time. Okay. There's nothing you really need to do before you go to these engagements. And that's what trips a lot of people up. So once we get over that hurdle, then it really is just a matter of asking a few simple questions. We do put them out. I forget what they are, but they're put out there in the strategic report, and you listen to what they say, and you take notes. Your goal is to talk as little as possible in these engagements. So that should take a great burden off of you. I do have some more details. If you get a key stakeholder who is pretty chatty, you get them going and kind of open them up. That meeting is going to run long. And I've got some other bullet points in there that you can reference to kind of help you dive a little bit deeper. One of the things I tell people, when you book a key stakeholder meeting with someone, book it for 30 minutes. All right. That's usually enough time that, if someone wants to go short, you can, but 30 minutes is probably going to be enough. But that's the amount that goes into their calendar. On your calendar, you need to book another half hour because there's a really, really good chance that they're going to go long. All right. Yep. So don't cut it off short, because once you get them going, they're going to give you gold out of a fire hose. So just listen and let them go. It's a really great exercise.
And we have some cute little, I shouldn't say cute, some great ways to kind of time box this or put frameworks. And it's like, hey, instead of saying, hey, I need to do a key stakeholder interview. Are you interested? Like, no. Like, hey, you know what? You've got kind of a good pulse on the environment. Can can I pick your brain for a few minutes on how best to help you guys out? I just want to hear like what's going well, what's not going well. Or in my turns, if I have like a group of teachers in front of me, so when I was doing my consulting with teachers, I would do a SWOT exercise because I was really good at them. I was very comfortable with them. And when I got them getting over to like, what are the weaknesses of this school? It was really hard to shut them up.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like people, self-deprecating humor is easy for people. If I ask you, what are the things you guys do best? It's like, it's a slow roll to get them warmed up. But if I say, what's not going well, or what do you wish you could be doing better? I just sit back with my whiteboard marker and I go to town.
Yep.
I'm too busy drawing to actually spend time talking. And that's a good stakeholder review. If it's just a one-on-one over a cup of coffee or a pint or some donuts, you know what? You just got to sit back and say, hey, how are things going at the company? And just have a candid conversation and bring up how things are going at your MSP. Let it be a natural conversation. You're talking to a stakeholder here, and they actually care about this company. They usually have a vested interest in its growth and success, and they're going to be very honest with you. And you know, if they get to start sidetracking about excuse me, about tickets that are being handled correctly, then go ahead and redirect them more towards, okay, do you know what? Let me look into that. But how are things going at the business? Like, you know, are you expecting a really great year with 2025? Stay away from politics if you can. But get into economics. Like, are you expecting a good solid year next year? Are you expecting growth? I know that we see the economy usually sees good growth towards the end of a presidential cycle. Are you guys predicting good growth next year in your flower industry, your hot dog industry, or whatever they're in?
Yep.
And be like, oh yeah, I think next year is going to be a great year. We're really optimistic. Like, well, what can we do to help?
Right.
Well, they won't know because they don't know technology. They'll come up with like, well, I'll just keep closing tickets. Like, okay, well, tell me about problems that are happening, or tell me about key initiatives next year. Like, well, in my department, what we're trying to do is we're trying to do more online testing. We're trying to get more kiosks out at concerts. We're trying to sell flowers via the website. Whatever it is that they're doing, they might talk to you about it. It might feel like it has nothing to do with IT, but as we all know, everything is related to IT these days.
Yes.
They just don't connect the dots because they don't have the knowledge that you do.
Yep.
So you're the sieve. You want to see yourself as a sieve. This information is coming in at you from the business, how the business is growing, what's going in, and you're filtering through all the opportunities that they're missing because they don't know what ChatGPT can do or AI can do. Right. They don't know how remote workforces can actually play out. They're still thinking VPNs and, you know, work at home strategies. They're not thinking of the new fluid architecture that's out there. They're not thinking about 5G and its implications for remote sales. These are things that you know and that you're going to wow them with. And they're like, oh my gosh, we should talk to Karen about that. And now you're in front of the CEO in a week.
Right. And so let me reinforce that. I mean, you show up, you're the IT guy, right? I mean, it's not like we're going in undercover or anything. So the tendency is to automatically shift the conversation towards technology. You know, how your laptop's working out, you know, is that monitor big enough for you? Is the printer fast enough? Whatever, you know, don't go there. And don't let the key stakeholder go there. If they start going that way, redirect to business initiatives. You know, one of the things you said, Adam, was, you know, they're really anticipating a good year in 2025. Okay, that's not the answer you're looking for, really. All right. What is going to be good? All right. Are they going to make more sales? Are they anticipating a lower cost of goods? Are they implementing a new tool or process that they think is going to make them more efficient? Just drill down into why do they think it's going to be good? Why do they think it's going to be bad? It's really easy. I mean, you can dumb it down to that 2-year-old level, right? That 2 or 3-year-old. And we've all experienced it at some point. You give an answer to a 3-year-old and, you know, they go, okay, why? You know, and so you explain why, and they go, okay, why? You know, and
the 7 whys.
Yes. You know, after a while you realize, wait, there's no real point to this, but for yours, there is. Just drill in a little bit more to whatever their responses are until you get some bullet points. Some, hey, if this could be better, then their business would be better, their job, whatever it is. And don't try to formulate the solutions right then. Let them go, then come back, look at your bullet points. And that's really all you need. And this is not a high level report. You're not going to publish some 200-page document on this. This is going to be most likely a series of bullet points, and begin to look at those. You may want to talk to your team about that. And most of the time, you'll see some things on there and you'll go, if we implemented technology solution X, Y, and Z, that would really help like 4 of those bullet points.
Yep.
Great. Now you've got something to really move forward with. And your next conversation is still going to be business focused, but it's going to be talking to the executive team or whoever's, directing the IT services there, going, hey, we can fix some of your business issues. We can enhance some of your business issues. And you move the conversation along that way. Still, technology is underpinning this, but the conversation stays business focused.
Yeah, the main thing that you need to know here is you don't have to have a strict set of conversation. You don't have to make this a rigid thing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As Skip said earlier, there's zero prep time on this stuff. This is a cup of coffee conversation. I would do more structure when I have a bigger team that I was talking to, the key stakeholders, like e.g. all the teachers for a school. But when I'm talking to just the key stakeholder, I have like 3 of them at a mid-sized company. I know who they are. I send them an email. It should be on your playbook. Send them an email saying, go out and do lunch with them. Mm-hmm. And have some good conversation. And that will immediately drive revenue, because they're going to tell you about their problems and you're going to give them solutions. And they're like, oh my gosh, I did not know it was that easy. Let's do that right now. Let me talk to Bob this afternoon, and we'll see if we can get that rolling around to Karen next week. And then we can kick that project off if there's funding for it. That is how this works. It works really fast. You get somebody in your corner, and then you come over and you ask them these questions. And the questions are just, how are you doing? How's the business doing? You already know these questions.
It's that easy.
It's not anything fancy. Talk to them like they're a peer, because that's what they are. They're a business owner. You're a business owner, or you're a key stakeholder. They're a key stakeholder. You're on the same level. Let's help each other out here.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned an email and made me think of something. I used to have one templated somewhere. It was really simple, but we've got a great opportunity coming up. If you've been listening to us for the last, many weeks now, we're talking about your Q4 strategic engagements. So if you don't already, you should have a meeting on your calendar right now with an executive group, or at least an individual within your client's organization, to close out this year with a Q4 meeting. All right. In that meeting, ask them, hey, I want to do some key stakeholder interviews next year. Can you give me a list of names? 2, 3, whatever your cadence is going to be. It doesn't have to be a lot, but get that from them. And then the email that I had was, you send that out, and pretty much the first line in that was, hey, your boss said I should talk to you, something to that effect. And so you get a little bit more of a drive. It's not just a random email. Hey, can I have a few minutes of your time? They're busy, right? But now you've got this directive. Your boss said we need to talk, and they're a little bit more inclined to do that engagement. And if they don't, you can follow up with their boss and say, hey, this didn't work out. Can you give me someone else? Or maybe they pulled out the cattle prod or whatever, and they make it happen. Who knows, right? But that's just a really simple way. You've got a meeting coming up, right? You've got a meeting coming up, and in that meeting, make that one of your little to-dos. Get a list of key stakeholders to begin talking to. Whether you do it before the end of the year or you plan that out for next year, now is a great time to set yourself up for that.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the things, kind of like proposals, that MSPs miss out on, that generates revenue in a very easy way. People don't talk about these two things, proposals and key stakeholder interviews. There's no money in the vendor world for it. There's only money for MSPs with this. This is a relationship building activity where you don't have to be taught anything. You don't have to do anything special. You just have to walk over and say, hey, let's get a cup of coffee. Let's get a pint. Let's get a donut. Hey, let's go out to dinner. That new steakhouse down the road.
Yeah.
Try any of those things and just have a conversation. And that's it. And see, this is how you get these loyal clients. This is how you get to the point where you cut your client base in half and charge twice as much, because your clients are so loyal to you that they don't care what you're charging because you're listening to them. And the key stakeholders love you, and they know that if they got rid of you, then the company's going to mutiny. So Karen at the top is never going to get rid of you because everybody loves working with you. Stakeholder interviews should be core to what you are doing as an MSP, as core as working on the technology, because those relationships matter. Thanks, Skip, for coming on. We're coming out on the close of the events calendar for the year. Next week is how to get your MSPs unstuck. And then week 4 is tactical versus strategic QBRs. And then we're into the end of year activities.
There you go.
This year is nuts, people.
It's right there.
All right. Thank you for coming. Let's check and see if this end stream works well this week.
All right. Hopefully so.